So, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Yadalam. I lead cloud cost management at Harness, and I'm thrilled to be joined today with Seli Cerda from United Airlines. So, we're here to tell a story about what's possible when FinOps becomes a part of engineering culture, and how United scaled FinOps across over 500 teams and thousands of workloads to not just hit or double, but triple their annual cloud spend savings target. And how you as FinOps practitioners can borrow from the playbook to supercharge your own FinOps initiatives. And finally, how you can future-proof your investment in FinOps. But first, Seli, maybe we start with a quick introduction and what brought you to FinOps in your journey.
Yeah, absolutely. So good afternoon, everybody. I'm Seli Cerda. I oversee the cloud and platform engineering practices at United. Really, I think what, from our perspective, instated a FinOps journey was the need to manage the cost, the need to, understand and detail that internally so we can make the right investments. But key balance there is to do it in such a way that you're not stagnating innovation for development, but instead giving them the tools to see where the money's going, like where are they spending their dollars? Is it compute? Is it storage? And so some of that I think we leverage Harness for to really give us those perspectives.
Fantastic. So leveraging Harness to balance innovation and efficiency. Yeah. So my journey with FinOps also started about 5-6 years ago when Harness acquired my cloud optimization startup. And back then there was a tweet that went viral that the cloud is not about paying for what you use, but paying for what you forgot to turn off. And an automation first approach is so critical, right? Whether it's for complex cost allocation, for chargeback and showback, or cost optimization or governance. But before we dive into how United is leveraging Harness with an automation first approach, who even is Harness, right? A quick show of hands, how many of you have heard of Harness before? Oh, I was going to say the company you never heard of, so I don't need to. But Harness is essentially the company that does everything you ever need as an organization, right? So it's an AI-native software delivery platform that provides teams with velocity, security, and efficiency. And it's this holistic data, visibility, and automation that really makes our FinOps offering that much more powerful. Now, we've scaled to over 900 enterprise customers globally since our founding in 2017. And a lot of this growth has been on the back of providing the most comprehensive tooling that addresses all FinOps use cases with AI-powered automation to maximize results. Now, let's talk about United Airlines. Now, Seli, your engineering and cloud footprint is massive, right? And yeah. Not that you need to, but can you give the room a quick introduction of United Airlines and what scale means to your team?
Yeah, so United, I think not a lot of need for introduction. The company's been a competitor in the airline industry for now over 90 years. And during that time, we've highly focused on how do we elevate and continue to elevate the customer experience. So with our recent national campaign of Good Leads the Way, we aim to exactly do that by focusing on customer service, sustainability and diversity, reducing our carbon footprint, and really making investments for the future. So one of the bold things United did during COVID was actually expand their aircraft fleet. Where everybody else was tightening the purse, we procured 500 new aircrafts because we were betting on the future, betting on customers coming back. And so when you think of that breadth, we have to have equally a very talented technology team to support that. So looking at our operations today, we have about 1,000 plus aircrafts in service. We do about roughly 5,000 flights daily across the globe. Last we checked, 174 million customers. We are flying across all 6 continents. We have 7 hubs across the US. And then when you think about the breadth that technology is supporting, we have about 4,000 engineers globally supporting a 24/7 operation that's also comprised of about 500 teams. Now, in terms of how we use the cloud, we do use all the clouds. AWS is our primary cloud. We are running about 650 apps in the cloud today, 100 plus services in the cloud daily. And we host about 16 petabytes of data. Like I mentioned, we're a multi-cloud, multi-region, highly resilient. We are a hybrid infrastructure organization. And we have a pretty diverse workload. I think if you think about the apps, we're probably running it in the cloud. Anything from APIs, microservices, ML, AI, data lakes, and some legacy monolith. Some of the key capabilities we host in the cloud is our world famous mobile app and United.com.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And 5,000 daily flights and 174 million customers is significant scale. But what was that turning point that made FinOps a priority at United?
Yeah, so I think just before COVID, we were already in a very high trajectory to move to the cloud. We were on an innovation path. Teams were given autonomy to architect and build their applications. COVID hit, and you think a lot of those things will change, but that was also the same time we invested in those 500 new aircraft. So we made bold decisions to continue those investments, but instead focus on how are we more cost efficient with building and deploying in the cloud? How do we build governance around our spend? Really ensure that teams are following and understanding where their dollars are going, their budgets, how they're doing. So the focus was more on cost efficiency rather than cutting back services migrating to the cloud. And so CCM helped with some of that. I think really from bringing attention to the workloads that are spending the most, breaking those up from the VP, MD, director level down to the DevOps engineers running the workloads. But that was, I think, really, one of the big things we did during and before COVID, really was not slow down development, but instead support them in a different way.
Yeah, amazing. And with all of that scale since COVID, let's talk about your FinOps implementation, right? I know your team has implemented a lot of internal best practices to lay that foundation for you to even be able to leverage a tool like Harness. So can you walk us through that FinOps implementation journey and where Harness fit in the picture?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think one of the very key things for United that's very hard in industry to master and mature is CI and tagging process. So we have quite a large cloud environment, many apps and services running. That was foundational. That was pre-built in the CMDB before we really started taking off in the cloud. And that allowed us to kind of plug and play Harness from a reporting and showback perspective. Another thing we did is, as part of my organization and enterprise architecture, is really build governance on how we build APIs, how we do CI/CD, how we deploy EKS. Everything running in the cloud that could be standardized as a template that we could take back and even put some numbers behind cost, right? Tie that back. We also heavily work with our partners to, work and negotiate our PPAs, our savings plans, and the RIs. So a lot of investment there that our teams do just to make sure that the investments are going to the right places. So as I mentioned, the tagging process really allowed us to have a robust showback report for cost allocation, cost reporting, anomaly detection, when costs go through the roof, advising teams. If FinOps isn't knocking on their door, they're probably already looking at remediation. Budgets, which are key and broken up yearly and understood for variance, discussed and steer codes. And then other things we're actively POVing is auto-stopping, right? And that we're doing carefully because we're a very distributed systems and accounts across AWS. So United, as you would imagine, any airline is very operational focused. We want to make sure we do white glove treatment in these environments where we test, right? And go after maybe the lower environments first where we could shut down resources safely before we do anything in prod. But yeah, that's in essence how we started there.
That's fantastic. And with that implementation, like looking at these numbers, over 2,000 budgets, over 1,500 perspectives, over 3,000 users, it's phenomenal. Like, what helped drive that level of adoption?
Yeah, so going back to the tagging process, the way that it's done today is anytime a new application or service is deployed, it's auto-tagged with the 3-letter acronym. Similar to our airports, we love acronyms as well. And every app and service is tracked that way through the CMDB. And that allows us to use that app logic to create spend more clearly and refined on an app and service perspective. Beyond that, all of our services in AWS are tagged, tracked, monitored, and detailed down to container and compute level spend. So the tagging, like I said, foundation has really allowed us to take off in many of these, and that's what you see here is when we started plugging in those dashboards and showback reports, a lot of those reports were consumed by the users and just really quickly took off.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And with that adoption, or to get to that adoption, you haven't just implemented FinOps, you industrialized it. Can you walk us through your automation playbook?
Yeah. So first and foremost, like I think whenever we talk about doing anything major from an overhaul, we always ask, how do we automate this? How do we make this low touch? How do we solve this with the capabilities that we have? So when you think about our tag and detect, we have a rigorous tagging effort. All resources have, like I said, a 3 unique letter code for attribution costs and operations. And they're all accruing spend in AWS via Harness CCM. We have an attribute process, which essentially utilizes our CMDB for ownership and records and derived ownership. So we can see from the VP level, again, all the way down to DevOps and the engineers of where are those resources owned, who's maintaining them, and down to that resource level cost. We also automatically grant access to any new users through Azure AD. So if within a particular VP domain, MD, they have people swap out in and out through an AD change, we're able to move people in and out, automatically granting them access to these reports. When we create CCM resources, we leverage the Harness API to generate and configure all resources automatically. We use cost categories to build a tree of ownership, like I mentioned, VP all the way down to the engineers. And then beyond that, we set up monthly reporting cost trends to bring attention back to the tool. This entire process is ongoing, cyclical. We let the Python and Lambda run, very low touch, which is actually one of the things I'm very proud of from the team.
Yeah, absolutely. Low touch automation at scale to maximize results. That's fantastic. And now let's talk about cost optimization, which is, again, a binary differentiator for Harness. Now, with powerful levers, with things like cloud asset governance to automate tag enforcement, identify orphan resources and clean them up, track over-provisioned resources, or auto-stopping, like you touched upon a little bit, automatically remediating idle cloud resources, or asset governance, or cloud cluster orchestrator for workload-aware cluster node auto-scaling with things like spot orchestration and bin packing that are built in, or even the commitment orchestration to automate the purchasing and management of RIs and savings plans to maximize savings and minimize any overcommitment risk. Like, how important are all of these optimization strategies to your FinOps strategy?
Yeah, quite paramount. So we're aiming to deploy corrective actions across the 500 plus accounts we run on a scheduled basis. And some of that is building up the customer recommendations as well. We could tailor. So I think big here out of this list, right, is we look at the automated cloud resource detection and remediation. So those are things that we're actively POVing right now, and we're seeing some potential savings, tremendous, I would say, savings opportunities. The cluster orchestration and commitment orchestrator are other couple of services that the team's having incubation right now. But I think the big thing for us is, like, as we roll these out, we're doing it in pockets. We're doing it with the teams that spend the most, right? Our top spenders, and luckily they become also our guinea pigs before we roll things out to the rest of the teams.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I know you had a goal to cut cloud costs by 5% last year, and you knocked it out of the park, and you tripled that at 15%. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so a lot of that was a lot of the automations I talked about, attention to the reports that we pushed down to the executive team, down to their teams. We also had a lot of automation that was driven from a pattern perspective by our engineering team. So the availability of those, socializing those, having them work with other engineers to adopt them, it saved us a lot of money tremendously as teams right-size their workloads. But I think beyond all that, there was also a piece, we did gamification. I think the previous group talked about it as well. We did same concept as a hackathon, but the way that we're doing it is more as a learning opportunity, because as much as a technical pattern, we want teams to learn, have fun, and share with each other where they're doing similar things across their workloads where they could share. So we've started to build a community and a culture, which I think culture is so key, right, to everything we do. And it's really been, an asset of all those things that drove that 15% from our bill, which is incredible.
Yeah, that is incredible. And with all of the work that's gone into get to that incredible results. I'm sure there's a lot of learnings along the way with all the work that's gone into it. So what would be your advice to FinOps practitioners who are looking to scale their own FinOps initiatives?
Yeah, I think ultimately you're going into a journey. It's a marathon. You're going to take your hurrahs every sprint. But I think at the top of the list is executive support, right? The team has to understand the value in investing in these tools, these capabilities, the team, the governance. They quickly see their ROI and payback, right? When a bill is so expensive and when you account into everything you can do through the capabilities, but also through building solutions for the teams that will drive down the bill, it sells itself. So we didn't really have that tough time convincing our leaders to build that culture. Alignment with key partnerships, right? I think it's been super integral for us to partner with finance, the PMO office, because they're looking at things from a very different perspective than us technologists, right? They're looking at accruals, amortization, and a lot of those insights have been things that we've built into our reporting as well. Anomaly detection, right? We're operations team, but no different than your SRE or guys on call. We should have detection that pages somebody like, hey, your EBS volume's going up the roof, what's going on? Application tagging and reporting, again, very foundational and key for us. And then automate reporting updates. We take a lot of those insights, and in our steer calls, we talk about how are we getting better? How are we engaging more of the teams, getting their ideas, bringing them to the table, expanding our gamification process, doing hackathons, right? So a lot of the cool stuff. Overall, I think it's a very much continuous improvement mindset, no different than the SDLC, treating it like a product. The unit cost measurement piece, I would say, is probably the hardest. The hardest nut we've been trying to crack. I think we're getting better, we're getting there, and then certainly we've seen a lot of players harness one that can help with that. And then having initially efficient cloud cost monitoring for decentralized teams was quite hard. You're talking about 500 plus teams running different workloads, but having vastly different problems. That I think is also a continuous journey. And then last, like I said, making fun. Do hackathons, do lunch and learns, right? Learn from each other.
Yeah, absolutely. And those are some really great insights, like building culture, getting executive buy-in, like the continuous improvement mindset, and of course making it fun as well. Now, as we reflect on how United has leveraged harness over the years, it's been a journey, right? And it's been an evolution. And we expect that evolution to continue, right? So as United's requirements with FinOps continue, so will Harness's offering, right? Like our goal is to make sure that companies like yours stay ahead of the curve, right? And with that, we future-proof your investment in FinOps and in Harness. And it's a partnership.
It's definitely a partnership. I think, when we develop things internally, we build patterns. Our customers is application development. We ask for their feedback, no different than a partner, right? Yeah. When we see things can improve, new features, things we'd like to see, the back and forth and communication, I think, has been so key.
Absolutely. And it's been an incredible partnership with you, and we look forward to continuing it as well. And with that, that's a wrap. A huge thanks to Seli and the United Airlines team for partnering with us on this journey.
Yeah, no, thank you. And thank Ravi. Thank the Harness team for all the support. And yeah, please find us downstairs at the Harness booth if you have any questions.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Hey everyone, producer Andrew here. Thank you so much for watching and for your support. For more FinOps X 2025 content, go check out our YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, and leave comments and questions for all of our wonderful speakers. We appreciate your support.